Hey, what's going on, world? It's your boy Nextstop SirchCity.
What's up, guys? It's your girl, Neda.
Guess what you are doing right now? At this very moment, you are watching the Food We Watch podcast. And guess what? We have a very, very special guest. Before we get started, just wanted to do a brief introduction. This man was on this season 2 of Next Level Chef. He entertained us every week with his amazing palate, was able to take things that you didn't think would go together, put them together, and you're like, okay, this is what we're going to go with, and I like it. He was not only on season 2, but he was a top 3 finalist. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce to you Chris Spinosa, AKF Chef Zaddy.
Zaddy.
What's up, everyone? How you guys doing?
Good,
All
good.
right.
How are you, sir?
I'm fantastic. You know, it's 85 degrees and sunny down here in Florida. So
Oh, wow. Well, it's not too bad up here. We're in Philly, so it's about 80. Sunny.
there you go. Yeah, it's the time of year where everyone wants to be outside and get some vitamin D.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're not going to be before you long. I know you want to get back outside, but no, just thank you for being on this show this season. I'm like, you were one of the ones when we were watching. You're like, yo, what is he doing?
Very true. You guys in the rest of America are so concerned.
But then it would just come together. You'd be like, I guess he knows what he's doing. You got to trust the process, right?
Controlled chaos. Controlled chaos.
There you go. Well, let's get started with the interview. I know a lot of people watching. They want to know. We've seen you on Next Level Chef, but we want to know who is Chris? Who are you?
Sure. Well, I mean, born and raised New Yorker. I moved down to Florida recently, about last few years, just because of COVID. I was working out in New York City for like 7 years, doing like the Manhattan restaurant circuit, fine dining places, stuff like that. But before I was a chef, I was a music guy. Like back in the day, I played bass guitar and trombone. I went to college for music and everything. Like, you know, I'd do like jazz band and like symphonic band ensembles during the day. And then like on the weekends, I'd play bass in like the metal band.
Wow.
Y'all have something in common.
The craziness makes sense where it comes from.
Y'all have something in common.
I dabble a little bit in music from here and there, you know. I was never a musician, but you know, I spit bars sometimes.
There you go.
But no. So you were on the show, but we would like to know how was the process like getting to the show? Like what well, first and foremost, how did you get started cooking?
So when I was going to college, you know, I had like winter breaks that were like a month or so off, and then the summer breaks were like 4 months. So like after my first year, I was like, damn, like I need to make some money on the side, you know, just because I had to. And I was like, all right, like what better place to start than like kitchen work, because it's very approachable. Whether you want to do like, you know, be a server in a restaurant or work in a kitchen, it's just show up, you know, that's what happens. And so I started out as like a prep cook, dishwasher, and I started loving the work. I'd go home even though I was like exhausted, and I'd still try and like, you know, fondle with recipes, you know, try and do some knife work to kind of, you know, keep my skills sharp, of course. Yeah. And basically when I graduated college, I did music for a bit still, but I like had food on my mind.
It took over.
Yeah, it took over. So then I went into New York City with my mom to this school called the Institute of Culinary Ed. And what was supposed to be kind of like a casual, like, hey, let's go check it out and see if I'm into it sort of thing, turned into me like filling out an admissions form right at the end of that tour. And then I started, but it was a very approachable program. It was like 3 nights a week for 8 months. It wasn't like I was going back to school for like another, you know, 2 to 4 years. I didn't want to do that. That's why I didn't go to like CIA or someplace like that. Plus, ICE was right in the middle of the city. So like when you wanted it, once you were done, you were ready to get a job, you were already in the thick of it.
That makes sense.
So basically then when I left there and got my first job in the city, it was from there forward, it was like 7 years of me bouncing around to different places, different cuisines, different companies, different people. Like I worked in like star restaurants and like in one of John George's restaurants, but then I also like helped open up like a mom and pop Israeli spot in Brooklyn. Like it was all over. And the work was great. I learned a lot. I made like a mafia style connection with people. Anytime anyone needed a job, you called like one of us And then like 6 of us found out, and then like found you, and they're like, "Yo, we need a guy over here," or whatever.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
it was awesome. It was a hell of a lifestyle. Like I'm definitely gonna write a book about it sometime down the road in my life, because it was just all that was just nuts, that whole experience.
Yeah.
But COVID hits, the whole New York City restaurant circuit takes an uppercut. And before you know it, you had to make some decisions. It's like, am I going to stay here and like wait for stuff to get better, or do I move elsewhere that I think I could probably like still be employed and make money?
Yeah.
So I chose Florida because like at the time, Florida was like its own, matrix server. Like all this different, like Florida was just open as hell. So I was like,
it
all right.
was.
Well, it was. And as a guy who was a restaurant person, I was like, look, this is kind of the place that looks like I can actually still get a job and work. So I did. So I came down here 3 years ago, and I got a job as a sous chef at a place for like 6 months, kind of to like get the lay of the land, make some friends, And my food was like selling really well. Like I was putting on specials that were just bam, 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 like out the window. And then I became, at that point, I was like, let me try being a private chef down here. Because where I live is Palm Beach County. It's where like Mar-a-Lago, Island. So much money down here, it's disgusting. But as a private chef, that's like your gold mine. Like so many people who have so much money and don't even care to learn how to cook. And I'm like, I've been doing this long enough where I could definitely walk up and be like, give me the ball. Let me do my thing.
Right.
So like a year and change of me kind of like putting my private chef business together, I get this DM on my phone in like the message requests folder, and I'm cleaning it out one day, and then I see this one message, and it's like, "Hey Chris, my name is so and so with this casting agency. We want you to audition for a competition cooking show. Let us know. Here's a number to call." Now this message you two was timestamped for January, and I saw this in March.
Whoa.
So I was 2 months late to the party. I was 2 months late. I was late AF to the party. And so I called the number, and I was like, and I left a voicemail like, "Hey, listen, I know that this is late, but if the opportunity is still available, let me know. If not, keep me in mind for any other future projects, of course." And the girl gets back to me and goes, "No, the opportunity is still in play. Let's schedule an interview." And I did an interview with an actual casting agent.
Yeah.
And she loved me. She was like, "You are hilarious. You are out of your minds. You're like, I'm gonna like you'd be great for this show." And she's like, "By the way, it's a Gordon Ramsay cooking show." And I was like, "Is it now?"
So they didn't tell you what you're interviewing for. It was just a cooking show.
Yeah, that's because that's how they are. Like, especially like, and here's the thing: there was a casting flyer out for the show and everything. Like, I don't know. I just like throughout my life, you two, I like find myself in these situations that are pretty much like, it's like the random dude that wanders into a party and it's like P. Diddy's party. And they're like, "Who do you know here?" I'm like, honestly, no one. I just walked through the back door and I'm here.
Right.
That's kind of like what it's been like with me. It's like just wandering into these like very like profound scenarios. And so this was no different, obviously.
That's pretty cool.
It was just like, "Hey, by the way, it's a Gordon Ramsay cooking show. And also we really liked your interview." And 6 months later, you go back and forth between the studio and the cast agency, and called me and they were like, "Hey, you got green lit. You leave in 2 weeks." So I had to call all my clients and I was like, "Hey, I'm leaving. Can't tell you what I'm doing. And I could be gone for a week or possibly upwards of 5 weeks. I have no idea."
Wow.
Thus started the, journey on the show.
Right.
Okay.
So how was your experience on the show?
The show was a exhausting experience, to say the least. and look, I expected nothing less. Like I've never done TV or anything like that before, but I have an uncle of mine who does plays and does do some light work in film. But he, even when I told him a bit about what was going on, he was like, "Yeah," he's like, "These are gonna be long days for you." So, it was, we couldn't go anywhere besides the studio and the hotel, liability purposes, as well as I imagine COVID guidelines sort of things.
Yeah.
And they were 10 to 12-hour days, and it was long, but it was fun as well because when you looked at the whole thing, you're cooking for Gordon Ramsay, Naisha Arrington, and Richard Blaze. There's this group of 17 other people that I got to know really well, whom I would have never met otherwise, and it was just like also challenging. Forget even how long the days were. Just from like a cooking standpoint, I was challenged. It was basically taking everything that I had done up until that point and just been like challenging all of it. It's like, all right, take everything that you've kept up here and like use it all, but test the crap out of it. I mean, it was go, go, go. And
yeah, we saw.
yeah, no, me too. Like I'm full suck for the kitchens, and there's so much stuff that they filmed that didn't even make it to air.
Yeah, yeah.
Like there were many times that Richard Blaze would just look at me in the kitchen and be like, "Chris, you good?" I'm like, "Yeah, why?" He's like, "You're like saying to yourself right now, and it's like serial killer vibes, man. It's not even like."
Well,
like, no, this is just how I manage my. This is just how I manage my stress, you know. Like,
yeah, look, it's intense right now. So, what else am I supposed to do?
Like, I'm sweating, dude. How about you?
Well, speaking of that, Gordon has a bunch of shows. There's a bunch of different cooking shows out now, Netflix, cable, all of that. This show is rather unique because it's like a freestyle every week. So, what is it like where you have to pick ingredients off of a moving platform under pressure and then cook something? What kind of mind state do you have to be in week after week doing this?
So I was the contestant who like woke up every morning at 5:30 and like was working out in his like hotel room just to like kind of get the the nerves. Because like my way of coping with nerves is like physical activity.
Yeah.
And that could be anything. Maybe I just start stretching. Maybe I'll be that weirdo that just starts like banging out push-ups out of nowhere. And they're like, who the hell is this meathead over here? But so I woke up, I like worked out, I kept my breakfast light. But then to be honest with you too, like we all had our own like notepads. And for me, the way you kind of like practice doing, recipe stuff, I kind of just like wrote down stuff that came to my mind. Like I practiced randomizing ingredients in my head and just be like, what would you do with that? Because really
that's smart.
Right. Because like how do you train with randomized, ingredients,
Yeah.
And we couldn't have electronics with us. So you kind of have to like, MacGyver the process again.
Yeah.
So for me, but the good news with me was like, I'll be honest, like I think my biggest edge that I had over most of the contestants was that like as a professional chef, and at the point I was on like 9-10 years ish of like total experience. I had done so many different cuisines and different restaurants. My ingredient recognition was way better than most people's because I knew like some people would look at the stuff on the platform and have no idea what to do with it because they didn't know. Whereas like I would know most of the stuff on the platform. Thus, I would kind of like have a quick recall of like dishes that I've done or like ways that I've treated those ingredients, whether it was with an actual dish or just like a different cooking method, like garnishing.
Yeah. I remember you talking about that on the show. Like you were very familiar with what you were doing. Yeah.
Right. And I think what happened is, guys, is like because I had done sort of so many different cuisines and preparations of just so many ingredients, it wasn't I never really had too many bad grabs from the platform.
Yeah.
Because I was like, okay, if I grab these things, I know how I compare them. It's like my editing skills on the fly were pretty fine-tuned at that point, in all honesty. But
and that's where we get it because we're on the outside looking into this thing, and that's where I said when we first came on, we're like, what are you doing? But now it makes sense. Like, yo, you got all this stuff going in your mind. You already know all of these flavors, and we just didn't know. We're just like, what is he?
Sure.
Okay.
Even Blaze looked at me. He's like, Chris, you have 1,000 things going on your station, my man. Like, what's going on?
Like you said, you brought it all together and then edited it down. That's brilliant.
It was.
Well, oh, sorry. Well, it worked. You made it to the finals, which is huge. So how was the finals for you?
The finals was insane because, obviously it was the final day. It was our longest day of shooting that we had. Obviously it's like the culmination of this giant journey we went on because even though in total it took us like 4.5 weeks to shoot, which really in the grand scheme of film, it's like not long, but like, because the days were so long and we were all just like stressed out, not sleeping right, it was just like physically towards the end, you were French fries, freaking crispy. And so like the last day was fun and not for nothing. Like I kind of walked out there, thinking to myself, like, even if we don't win, I'm like, I'm not gonna like be like sore or sour about this because I already put on such an insane performance. Even just on like a comical level. You know, like anytime I did like those confessionals, the interviewers always told me, they're like, dude, you are the funniest one that we
Yeah.
the crap that comes out of my mouth. Like they're like
we could tell the producers love you. We would talk about it. We heard me like, yo, they always get Chris saying something.
they get me saying some outrageous stuff. You know, like they're like, record that. Make sure we got that. We got that right. Good.
Exactly.
But I just have one word for you: tomahawk.
Yeah.
I need parts. That tomahawk steak looked so amazing.
Thank you.
I just want to tell you that.
It was awesome to cook that, and I'm so happy that they put that on the platform because I like have worked in restaurants where I was on like the meat station and we had tomahawks, and a few of those restaurants were smaller places, so you weren't cooking that many, but there was one in particular that was like a more high volume joint, and we had to cook like so many of those that when I got the chance to run up to the platform and I saw the thing up there, I was like, get it, grab it right now. My mind was like, it was like Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars. He's like, do it, grab it. Don't ask questions, just grab it. And even Ramsey went up to me. Like, this didn't make it to air, but he like went up to me at my station right afterwards, and he was like, dude, why did you grab the biggest freaking cut of meat on that? The man was like genuinely almost annoyed with me. He's like what the is wrong with you? Like walked away. He's like, this kid's out of his mind.
No, but it worked out. Like we said, like I said, you have it in your mind. You know what you want to do. Yeah. It's just we're on the outside looking in, like this is not normal.
It's not normal. No,
who cares about
nothing about me is normal. Just
after we see what you do, we're like,
it doesn't matter. I was like, he got this. He got this. Trust the process. That's what we were saying. Yeah. Trust the process.
Speaking of Gordon Ramsay, and again being on the show, what were the judges like? Your first impressions? How were they throughout the show? And even finale night, like, did they give you any words of encouragement going forward?
So, to rewind, so like in the beginning of the show, you know, obviously we all got probably like a little starstruck seeing judges in person. But then, like, you know, the longer you're making the competition, like another day at the office. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Oh, there's Ramsey again. There's Blaze. There's Arrington. It's like morning. But in the beginning of the competition, you know, I would say they were like definitely more warm and welcoming because I think this is not Hell's Kitchen, this show. Yeah. Therefore, like a lot of people would like expect Ramsey to be, you know, more Hell's Kitchen-y. Mm-hmm. But this is obviously a mentor-based show. They want this to be more guided, more of like, you know, we want to see the best parts of our contestants, not necessarily the worst ones right out of the gate. But so in the beginning, they were very, you know, supportive. And again, a lot of stuff that never made it to air. Like Richard Blaze was definitely like very supportive and helpful during those challenges. I felt like they didn't really get a lot of that with him this season. Like a lot of my friends had gone up to me and they're like, it doesn't sound like he really supports you guys. I'm like, trust me, the man did. It's just maybe it wasn't really like, you know, the more, how do I say, like, you know, TV friendly sort of stuff.
Right.
Sometimes they want, you know, the juicier, you know, dramatic stuff.
We know. We wish, right. We wish shouting them out, them editing team.
Right.
And how they edit it.
Yeah. And look, you know, I tell people this. I'm like, look, TV, I was there contracted to just do a job. You know, obviously the job was a cooking show with Gordon Ramsay, but that's how I looked at it. Yeah. Ergo, like, whatever they were going to edit it down to, whatever made it or didn't make it, would I have my like moments of like disappointment? Sure, but that's not my department. I'm just there to be the kooky guy, you know, that makes people be like, who the hell is he and what is he doing?
No, and you definitely did that. I mean, just watching every week, I would look for, what are you going to do this week? What recipe? What are you going to say? It was like you were the person every week, and we could like, all right, something about to happen.
It's like, what version of Chris are we gonna get?
Exactly. But it wasn't like anything negative. It was just good. Like, all right, where's Chris at though? Because everybody else is going crazy. I know Chris has like 12 things he's thinking about doing. Let's see what Chris is going to do. And we loved it.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I think honestly, in one sense, even the mentors kind of love it too.
Yeah.
The fact that I like, obviously, like, despite the fact that we're all on different teams, like, make no mistake, all the mentors know what's going on at all times.
Yeah.
At the very least, they definitely, hear some of the stuff we do and what have you. So, like, there was definitely like there was the elimination that I had where Naisha Arrington was mediating, and this woman, this is the first time she ever saw me cook, and this woman definitely had this look of like, yo, this guy is nuts. She liked it. She like in a weird, like at the end of one of them, she went up to me and she was like that comment was like, okay, I see you. Like, you're coming and bringing the heat. Fine. And the same thing happened with Gordon Ramsay. He mediated one of like the second elimination that I had, and even at the end of it, the man went up to me. It's like, you gotta slow down. I'm like, hold up. The man himself is telling me to slow down. I'm like, damn, that's nuts.
Yeah, that's next level for real.
Yeah, right.
And speaking of, you're on the show. You with a bunch of people from around the world. What was it like getting to know everybody? Who was the person that you like? One of the contestants that you may have bonded with the most? Because I heard basically from everyone that we've interviewed so far, Kamalia, Vinny, Daryl, that it was you guys were a family, and we love hearing that.
Yeah.
So how was your experience with all the contestants? Who did you may have bond with the most, and how do you guys interact today?
So we all, obviously, as you know, we all stay in touch pretty much. Some more than others. Obviously, everyone has like their more, closer buddies. For me, that was Matt, the barbecue guy with the bandana on.
Yeah,
Him and I were like the team dads on Team Blade. And he was the guy that also like kept me in check that day when I like was like, pissed off and like taking later. Like he's like, I like the energy. He's like, but redirect it. I'm like, I got it. I'm pissed off. He's like, it's all good. I got it. And like him and I were like that. As well as Preston. Preston and I also became really good friends because we would take like a coach bus from the hotel to like the studio, and like Preston and I were the ones cracking jokes in the back of the bus, like two kids in a classroom. And then finally, the last two that I kind of got close with was, believe it or not, Alex, the doctor that got eliminated episode 2.
Okay.
Because he lives in South Beach in Miami Beach, and I live
okay.
an hour and 10 minutes away. I like once I got done shooting the show, I visited the guy like 3 times.
Okay. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, like him and I, like we're always talking. And then Nuri and I like got really, really close because exactly. Yeah. Because like here's the thing, Stretch was on a different team, and like there were some times like this was after the teams got disbanded, and like him and I finally got to cook in the same kitchen. The man's obviously like 7,000 feet tall, and like when he goes to the platform, some of my friends were like, "Oh, it looks like Nuri was trying to box you out." I'm like, whether he was or wasn't doesn't matter. The man is like a freaking Goliath, and I'm just like the short, like point guard, basically. But him and I became really close, and once again, much like Preston and myself, we were always cracking jokes, sending like memes to each other, like when we were back at the hotel. And then like there was one day we're in like the men's dressing room, and it's like I think like 2 episodes before the semifinals, and I stopped and looked around. I was like, Nuri. He's like, what? I'm like, we're the only 2 dudes left. And we looked around the dressing room, and it's just like our stuff. And he's like, oh, damn. I'm like, we can't get eliminated. I'm like, we'll murder each other in the finale, but we can't get eliminated.
Well, look, I'm glad we had one dude make it to the end.
Yeah, that was the one thing. We were like, we got to have one of us make it to the end, man.
So what would you say your biggest takeaway from the show is?
My biggest takeaway, if you could believe it, was that I can be a very insane competitor. Honest to God, I know this is hard to believe, I'm normally not as competitive and like trash talky as I am on the show. That's not to say that I necessarily dialed that up more for TV. I think it came out more when I did the show because it was like, it kind of dawned on me, like even subconsciously, like, yo, you're here to, play for prize money and for some serious bragging rights that not many people, really get a chance to do. So it was like, it kind of got serious for me, you'd say. But like that competitive nature started like growing exponentially every day. Every day that passed that I was still in it, it was like that little demon in me was like slowly like crawling out of the freaking hole. And like since leaving the show, I've now learned to kind of carry more confidence with myself. Because make no mistake, you two, like there's a lot of guys that I work with in the industry whom I still stay in touch with that I think really deserve a spot on a show like this, because I'm not afraid to admit that there are definitely people out there who are way more talented than I am. You know, I'm very humble, like you're always a student sort of mentality. And I think it was just like the gravity of me being on that show and having to go through this competition was something that finally awoke in this little like guy in me that was like, hey, listen, like you've been working at this and chipping away at it for like almost 10 years. It's time for you to stop being overly humble. It's like now you know your skills, because you know you could do it. You're just you're trying to not, go over the line and be too cocky, but you kind of got to be a little bit of that to kind of get ahead of it.
I mean, just a little bit.
Yeah, like a lot of like, I don't know if you guys went on Reddit or Twitter. I had some chains that were like scathing. There was an entire Reddit thread dedicated to me, and it was not happy. Oh yeah. Oh, you guys should go check it out. Go there and go on Twitter, and you will see it. People wanted me dead, basically, and it was like, yeah. Oh, we got that. But in all sincerity, like. One of the producers went up to me like when it was towards the end, and they were like, hey, so just so you know, like the way this is going, Story Team is probably going to edit you into being like a villain. He's like, so like, you ready for that kind of smoke? And I'm just like, yeah. Also, do I even have a choice? He's like, no, but just giving you a heads up. So like when the show was aired, I was like kind of waiting for this stuff to happen. And as it did, I kind of started thinking to myself, the age-old phrase, no press is bad press, right?
Yeah.
So like I think from like in conjunction with that, and then me being like more competitive just from the show, it kind of started to just kind of thrust me into like all right, dude, like now you have to be the cocky guy, because you are now being branded as that. And if you're gonna rock with a brand, you got to rock with the one that makes people talk about you the most. And I guess that was it for me, guys. It was just like all bets were off. I was like, all right, well, the shoe fits, wear it. Someone get me my devil horns.
Right. I'm not gonna lie, what you said about the time token, like you literally said what we all were thinking.
Yeah.
Like
that thing is cursed.
Some might say I conjured the curse before it happened to Omi, because the whole montage that they did. And then right at the end, all you hear is my voice go, so it's not me that like spoke the incantation,
Yeah. But no, it was cool. Like again, I didn't paint you as the villain. It's almost like when you look at Gordon Ramsay and you see those other shows where he's loud and all that, but in that world with your top tier chefs, you're not, I wouldn't say cocky. It's just I'm extremely confident. Because me, cocky is like you don't care about anybody else. You just do you. I didn't get that from you. I'm confident. And that's what you're supposed to be in whatever craft that you do. You have to be confident. But we know TV has to have its villain, its good one.
Yep.
They do. And I even said that to some people on like message boards that kind of had their own sense to say about me. Well, like I said, like, I know where I come from. I know my skill set. I know what I do and I don't know. And I also just, once doing this whole TV thing, like I kind of got a gist. I'm like, you know what? You're on a national spotlight. Like, you're gonna get people that just do not like you. And the thing is like it's easier to deal with the fans that obviously DM me and they're like, "Hey, loved you on the show. You were awesome." It takes more out of you and more of a test of your character to deal with people that aren't so fond of you.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. But I'm just glad you made it through. And now you get to give us the world the opportunity to let us know who you are. That's why we were like, let's get him on the show, because he's not, I could tell he's a nice guy. People that we talk to say, yo, he's great. Like, he's not like this person that they kind of portray on the show. He's a really great person. So with all this stuff that happened, you making it to the finale, you reading the Reddits, it's safe to ask, if you had the opportunity to do it again, would you do it?
Guys, I already want to go back on TV again. Amy and I were talking about this like one-on-one, and we were like I've called the guy and he's called me, and we just like how these damn calls. And then I check in. And, like at one point in all the conversations, we're both just like, yo, when are we gonna compete again? Like it was like I told him, I was like, right? Like we were jazzed up doing all that competing. And for me, it was like a new high for me. I was like, dude, I want to do this again. Straight Stockholm syndrome, basically. It's like, despite the fact that we were all exhausted as hell, we wanted to do it again. I still do. And I don't think it won't happen anytime soon, I don't think, because I still have to get myself an agent. I've been in the market trying to find one, and it's just been tough. Just like simply even just finding anyone who's willing to. It's a very niche market, trying to find like TV culinary chef agent. Very specific.
Okay.
You can find an agent for athletes, lickety split, right? Everyone wants to be an athlete.
Right.
But very tough to find someone who wants to represent a chef who wants to go on TV. So we'll see. I'm trying to find one. I would love to do more TV. A lot of the producers and the interviewers told me, they're like, so you've never done TV before? And I was like, no. And they're like, you really should do this more. Because I'm very comfortable in front of cameras. And the one-liners that I do, the zingers, they were like, you can't teach that.
Yeah.
It
looked natural to me.
Yeah. So who knows? I'd love to do another competition cooking show. I think based on my contract, though, I'll probably have to read a bit for that. And even if it's anything else on reality TV, even if for like whatever reason someone puts me on like Survivor or something else like that, I'll do it. No, I'll do it. I'll freaking do it. Put me in front of a camera, and I promise you will be not disappointed.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'd love to do it again. I really would. Stress was nuts, but it was cool as hell to be on a show like that.
Yeah. Well, what's next in store for you in the near future?
So, as of now, as I told you guys, I'm a private chef down in Florida, in West Palm, and I have some clients that I serve here locally. A lot of wealthy, well-off people. I do have a Major League Baseball client. I don't know if I can say his name, but I am his private chef. And now that it is the Major League Baseball season, I am being flown out to his home stadium area for like those 6-day stints that they do, home games. And that, for the time being, is going to be like the summer gig for Chris, because Florida in the summers, it's not dead, but this is our slow season. So no one wants to be down here when it's like blistering hot. I don't mind it, but that's just me. So our season doesn't pick up until like November, like late November, early December, when all the snowbirds are coming in, and weather starts getting cooler up north. And then our season runs all the way until like the end of May. So for me, like the clients that I started getting from the show, like most of them are out of town now, which is all fine and dandy. But a lot of them are these very well connected people who, they already told me, like, look, when I'm back in town, we're absolutely using you, no questions asked. And that's sort of where I'm going at now. I have another venture as well that I'm kind of a part of. That it's still in its like infantile stage, so not going to talk about it quite yet until it starts to really grow. But between the MLB clients, the other thing I'm going to be doing is just working on my social media. Like before the show, I didn't have TikTok, I didn't have a Twitter. I just had my Instagram, and I was just posting photos of my food. Now, like when it was the end of the show, that last day in the studio, a few of the producers were like, when you leave here, they're like, go get your socials up. And it was like, we're not asking you, we're telling you.
Yeah.
And then one of them was like, go find, and then also find an agent. So I'm going to be working on my social media, putting out more content. I'm trying to get some more brands and want to get some partnerships, because at this point, trying to monetize my social media stuff is kind of the name of the game. Now the show kind of gave me a platform that's kind of boosted even my follower account. Like I finally cracked 10K over the weekend of the finale. Awesome.
Nice.
Yes,
Congratulations.
Tap on the back there. It's small. I know there's a lot of people out there that have like 500,000 followers that are just like whatever, but it's the first step. And it'll be a long road, but I know that in the meantime, while I'm waiting to kind of grow my private chef business, it would definitely behoove me, since I have the time, to just work on social media stuff, tweak my profiles, put out more videos, do some more funny content or whatever, since people definitely have loved my weird antics on the show, you know.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the gist of it. I mean, like I said, if I can get some more companies that want to do partnerships with me, you know, paid partnerships, it'd be great. But since it's going to be the slow season down here in Florida, you know, this is kind of the time to work on, as they say, you know, the plumbing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, look, I follow you on all. I have like 7 pages because we do so much. I follow you on all of them.
But I'm glad to
We
hear
love
that.
it. We're definitely going to pump you, promote you, like we do everyone else. I love everything that you're doing. I love your recipes. I look at it and I'm like, oh my god, where is he at? Florida? I'm about to book a ticket.
I can take it. Let's see them. Some people were like, "Do you ship your food across the ocean?"
But no, and speaking of socials, before we get up out of here, guys, I just want to again thank you, Chris, for doing a podcast. As we tell everybody, we started this on a whim. I was like you, I was posting pictures. I cook. I learned from my mom. I'm an at-home cook.
I eat.
And she eats.
There you go.
And then one day she came over to eat, and then I told her, I was like, "Hey, I'm posting them. Like, we should." She was like, "We should kind of." She's a photographer, and I'm like, "Okay, well, let's post pictures and videos." And next thing you know, we're doing this. So,
How it happens. How it happens.
so we understand what you're going through. Anybody listening, Chris, and search with like some paid partnerships so we could get this money. But in the meantime, where can everyone find you at? How can people follow you?
On Instagram, you will find me at chef_Zaddy, Zaddy. TikTok, I am chef.zaddy. And then I have a website, www.chef-zaddy.com.
Zaddy.
All Zaddy. All
Zaddy. Chris, once again, thank you so much for coming to our podcast. You have no idea. We greatly appreciate it. We're going to put all your information in the description below. So anybody watching this, if you look in the description of this video, you'll be able to find out how to reach out to him on all his platforms. Once again, season 2, number 3. One of 3 finalists. Thank you again. We hope to see nothing but good things happen for you, and we appreciate you being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, too. I'm really excited for the future, so we'll see what happens.
All right, guys. So guess what? You already know it's time to go. But before we go, I got to let you know that good things come. Yeah, good things go. Life is like a box of chocolate. Sometimes that shit be melting. Good night.